Hello everyone, Onion here. Now, I'm doing this video because of the whole Charlottesville thing, and I don't have a lot of information on it because it's the day after the Charlottesville um, Unite the Right and all this Antifa and white identitarian mess. But I want to talk about something that I was talking personally about years ago. Ever since I noticed the trend starting. Frankly, I kind of started noticing it when I was a kid, but I really started noticing it just a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And right now we had a large clash between Antifa, Black Lives Matter, other leftist groups that are coming out and saying that they are anti-racist groups, and that these groups that they're protesting are racist. And between a couple of groups, from what I have heard and what I have looked at, there were some Klan members out there. There were some neo-Nazis out there. There were white supremacist groups that may not be the Klan or the neo-Nazis, and then there were also white identitarians. Now, please forgive, my cats are playing in the background. Now, there's the alt-right, which, as I understand, according to the left, is now just pure white supremacist Nazi racists. But that's not exactly what they are. They have fallen into the hole of white identitarianism. It's not white supremacy. It's not racist. It is identitarianism. It is whites stick with whites to basically for better protection and for understanding. Well, I'm white and he's white, she's white. We'll better understand the whiteness things that are going on. I mean, you see that with black people, you see that with Hispanic people, Chinese, Japanese, all other groups except for white. But for some reason this one's bad. Identitarianism. And so, from what I understand, there was a rally and a protest against a statue of Robert E. Lee that was going to be removed, and all these white identitarian groups are protesting that, and they're trying to. And I think that might have actually been separate from the Unite the Right rally, but I'm not certain because there's a lot of information out there and a lot of disinformation, and it's kind of hard to sift through. It's going to be a couple of days before we know exactly what went on. But what I wanted to talk about was there does seem to be an upsurge in the the recruitment of white identitarian groups. Now, I'm not saying now the Klan and the neo-Nazis are actually a little more visible now. I don't think the Klan and the neo-Nazis are actually getting that much more recruitment. They're getting some good publicity, but I don't think they're getting that much more recruitment. I think it's more like the alt-right, the actual white identitarians that are that people are getting recruitment with, because, well, people are scared, and when people are scared, they wanna go somewhere where they feel safe. And right now, there's a lot of attacks on white people that are making them feel unsafe. Now, I have said before that if you want white identitarianism, if you want racism, if you want Nazis, if you want the Klan, that this is how you get that. If you want racist, this is how you get racist. It's like that saying, you know, if you want ants, this is how you get ants. So let me go over. I just kind of wrote down things off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's much more that over the past years I have noticed, and it has become mainstream and even, God, prevalent in our society. It has become so much more prevalent and so much more obvious that it wasn't. Some of it was in the background, and it wasn't really that noticeable. But now it is so obvious that this is where you're getting this like white identitarianism from, is because of these things. And I just, as I said, I just wrote these things down off the top of my head, and I got 30. 30, easy 30. So I'm going to start going through them, and I'm going to talk about them. These are the things that if you want racism from white people, if you want identitarianism, basically meaning I'm white, I'm going to stick with white people, then this is what you have to do. Okay, white privilege. Number one, white privilege. White privilege is the idea that white people have these unearned, I hate to say privilege for privilege, but these unearned abilities that other people don't have simply because of the color of their skin. And somehow that's a bad thing. Now, most of these things are disputed because, well, not all white people have these things. And every time I hear them, I'm like, well, not all white people have these things. So you can't really say it's a white privilege if not all white people have them. It's more of a, well, yes, we live in a majority white country, so these things happen. It's like living in a majority heterosexual country, so heterosexuality tends to be the norm. These things tend to happen. Okay, I understand that. You're bad, but people are using white privilege to bash people. The biggest privilege I have as a white person is not being able to blame my problems on my race. I can't say that, well, I can't do this because I'm white. Well, that's actually kind of starting to change, and we'll get to that. Number two, the white guilt. This whole thing about white people being guilty for everything, basically. Colonization, slavery, racism, and a lot of the other things that I'm going to talk to you about here. That white people should be guilty. And there are even white people that sit out there and have massive amounts of guilt. They walk around in chains with signs around their necks saying, "I'm sorry." What are you sorry for? What did you do? Did you enslave people? No. But people are being made to feel guilty about things they never had any part of. Number three, cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation to me is complete bullshit. Now, with cultures all around the world, what you do is you see the cultures, and if you start emulating something about that culture, that means you like that part of it. Now, of course, we're not going to take the things we don't like, and we're not going to emulate those things because we don't like them. What we're going to do is we're going to emulate the things that we do like. I love frickin' anime. I would be considered an otaku. That is not cultural appropriation. That is cultural appreciation. I really, really appreciate anime. I am a big fan, and I don't have any body pillows or anything like that, but I extremely enjoy that part of a culture. And if I want to dress up with a sombrero and a poncho for God knows what reason, for Halloween or whatnot, that's not cultural appropriation. That's cultural appreciation. Because if I thought it was something terrible, I wouldn't dress up as it. I'm dressing up as these things to have fun. I evidently think that these things are fun. And one of the biggest things with culture appropriation coming up is like hairstyles and stuff like dreadlocks. Okay, dreadlocks, let me just say for that one, it's an around the world thing. You will find that in history in every part of the world. Why? Because hair naturally mats up and dreads up when you don't frickin' wash it for months or years at a time. And in history, people didn't wash their hair for months and years at a time, so dreadlocks happened everywhere. It's like spoons. Spoons happened everywhere. Bowls happened everywhere. It's not a cultural appropriation thing, because every culture figured it out. Let's go to number 4. Redefining racism. Now, racism has an actual definition. And my definition of racism is basically being a jerk to somebody because of the color of their skin. Being a jerk to somebody because they are a different race than you. Or being extra nice to somebody because they are a different race or because they are the same race. That is racism. There's positive and negative. But they have redefined racism, this power plus prejudice bullshit, to mean white people have power, therefore the only people who can be racist with power and prejudice is white people. So if you're basically saying, well, it's all semantics and everything. I mean, you can still be a jerk, which is my definition. You can still be a jerk based on race, but you can't be racist because the word means something different. We've changed the word racism into white people are fucking terrible. It's an attack on white people. It's an actual attack on white people to redefine the word racism to mean only white people can be this. 5. Holding people alive today responsible for historic acts. Not a single person in America today has owned a slave unless they have moved here from a country which currently has slavery. Not a single person in America today has taken part in colonialism. You cannot hold people that are alive today accountable for the actions of the people in the past. There were horrible, terrible, atrocious things by our standards today that happened in the past. But the people that are alive today did not do those things. It were the people in the past. The things that were done were extremely atrocious. And if you look throughout history, around the world, I like Chinese history. The history of China is rich. It has everything. God, Shakespeare could not write plays as intricate as the history of China. And some of the stories that come out of there. I love that part of the world's history. And you have the most horrendous acts happening in China. That doesn't mean that the Chinese people today are responsible for those horrendous acts. No, it happened. We learned from it. They learned from it, and they are better people today because of it.
Fuck white people. Fuck white people. Fuck white people. Nigga, fuck white people. Fuck white people. Fuck white people. Fuck white people. Nigga, fuck white people. Fuck white people. Fuck white people.